Hello and welcome to the Weirder Hings podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michael McCann, and
I'm another one of your co-hosts, Innes Smith. And if you are not Scottish and you need this translated, what does Hings mean, Michael?
well, Hings, Innes, I'm glad you asked, is the Scottish vernacular for the word thing.
That's so surprising.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
So
You learn something new every day.
And since our podcast is going to be mostly Scotland related, we thought we'd give it the Scottish twist.
Scottish, that's good. Have you made any New Year's resolutions for health and fitness?
No.
Nobody.
We're currently sitting here drinking coffee and eating donuts. Innes, what do you think?
No, the answer is no. So if you're interested in the paranormal, and in particular wondering what's going on in Scotland, then apparently this is the place to learn all about that.
Yes, we will delve into current cases.
But why you, Michael? Why you?
Why me?
What do you know about this paranormal in Scotland?
Me? Oh, that's a good question. I have seen things.
That's good. That's enough.
Yeah,
Just leave it at that.
I've seen
That's
things.
enough.
Yeah,
I've
spoken to people.
Yeah.
What about you, Innes?
I've tasted things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's right. You actually have tasted things.
That's true. That's true. So if you keep listening, maybe you'll find that out.
Yeah.
So just because people are often interested, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Why should I listen to them?
Yeah.
And the answer is, well, you don't have to.
Yeah,
but hopefully you will
Yeah.
tune in and listen to all about it.
That would be nice.
That would be nice, yeah.
We will delve into Scotland's historical paranormal cases, as well as more up-to-date current ones.
Yeah. So in our reboot, we're going to kick off with basically a big question. Is Paranormal Scotland? Is there anything...
Is Paranormal Scotland?
Is Scotland paranormal? Aye, the other one. Is Paranormal is Scotland. Just like doing Yoda now.
We haven't recorded one of these in a while, so we're a bit
rusty. It's been the festive season. Things have,
being Scottish, we're still drunk.
Still drunk, yeah. There's only one day of the year in which we're barely sober.
Yeah.
And we haven't discovered when that is yet. It's a mystery.
That's why we have this podcast, to try and find that out.
Weird. Sobriety. Anyway, that's a national stereotype.
It is.
It is. And we'll be enjoying plenty of stereotypes throughout the series.
Right, so in our old podcast, we used to do a segment called Weirder Things, Weirder News. But in the new podcast, it's called
Weirder Hings, Weirder News.
Yes, so this is our...
I don't know why I put on a Scottish accent.
It's because it's different for the old podcast.
Oh, that'd be why,
yeah. So this part of the podcast is where we take a light-hearted look at the week's paranormal news.
I just have to explain that sound. That's the sound of me
wiping donut sugar off your beard.
Yeah. And that's not a code. That is quite literally donut sugar.
Yeah. Because one of the things we do in this podcast is we drink coffee and eat cake while we're doing the podcast. So you'll hear a lot of slurping and swallowing and stuff.
So at least it's fun for somebody. You know what I mean?
If you're into that type of thing, if you're into listening to people eating and drinking, then this is a podcast for you. Right, so...
I'm sure there's quite a substantial crossover between food fetishists and paranormal enthusiasts.
Oh, I'm sure there's a market. There's absolutely a market for that. Right, so this week, Innes, something stirred in the British UFO Society. I'm sure every podcast paranormal group are going to be talking about this.
That's right.
But I thought that we would do it anyway.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've got a fair idea of what you're going to talk about now, but go on, fire away.
There was a hint to great. Right. So, Innes, has the mystery of Britain's Roswell finally been solved? The Rendlesham Forest UFO landing was a prank by SAS tricksters played on US airmen, insiders claim. Was that it? Was that what you thought it was going to be?
Well, do you know what? I think there's so many problems with that story.
It's the SS or the actual overall thing.
Well, the fact that the SAS would prank guards of a US airbase on British soil it's kind of beyond ridiculous. I mean, I think the SAS do carry out exercises, and some rather extraordinarily sort of bodacious, outrageous exercises. But the fact that but what would their exercise be? Would their exercise be prank? The word prank.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well,
I don't think the SAS.
Have you read the story behind it all?
Well, go on, you.
Have you though?
For the I know a wee bit about
right,
it, but,
okay.
but you do a deep dive for the benefit of those that.
Right, okay. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know it, Britain's Roswell was a Rendlesham Forest incident in Suffolk in December 1988. A group of US airmen went out into the forest because they thought they saw something. They came across what they thought was a UFO, and much controversy has been going on ever since. Anyway, until this week, someone has come out and said, yeah, what basically happened was the SAS would parachute in and test the defences of this US airbase, right, because there was nuclear weapons stored on it. So the SS, or the British government, will try to keep the Americans on their toes and protecting this stuff. So they would send in the SAS just to kind of probe it. And then what happened was, what they're saying happened is the SAS parachuted in, but they had these new parachutes, and unbeknownst to them, they were picked up by the American radar. They weren't, as invisible as they thought they were, and then they went out, captured them, interrogated them, and kept referring to them as aliens, right? So the SS were raging because apparently they beat them up and stuff like that and interrogated them and kept referring to them. So the SAS went away and went, we'll bloody show them out we're aliens. That was my SAS.
Yep.
Cockney,
they're all Cockney chimney sweeps, the lot of them.
With Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
SAS. Okay, we'll bloody show them. That's how people spoke in 1980.
Yeah.
So the SS decided that they were going to play a prank on them, and they staged a UFO landing outside the base and tricked these US airmen into thinking that they were being attacked by a UFO. Their base was being buzzed by UFOs, and then it comes out recently that someone said, "Yep, that was us. We'll just," and we knew, the British government and all that knew the whole time, and we were just kind of laughing at the Americans under our sleeves, behind their sleeves the whole time, because they thought that they'd saw aliens, but we knew the whole time it was just the SAS pranking them. Yeah, so that it's causing some buzz, some discussion in the old British UFO society. Some people say, no, it's a load of old bollocks, and other people saying, well, it could be true.
Well, provenance is everything, isn't it? It's like, well, who's made this claim? Who are they?
Well, here's the thing as well. The person, the researcher, the UFO researcher, his name is David Clarke.
Right.
Dr. David Clarke,
yes,
I believe. And he has only really, it says here that he's only been researching UFOs for 3 years.
That's not true.
According to this article, is that not true?
No. Dr. David Clarke's been investigating. He's a professor of journalism,
right? And
he's been investigating UFOs, and he's been writing books on the subject for decades.
All right, okay, that's interesting, because some of the comments like, oh, he's just Nick Pope, the British MOD UFO expert. Has claimed that this guy's just trying to basically steal his job, like as spokesperson for British UFOs type thing. So there's a wee bit of arguing going on within.
Yeah, I don't
who
think
this guy is and what he was.
Yeah, I don't. But well, I mean, it's complicated, because as a journalist, you might not want to reveal your source.
Yeah.
But then again, it's about credibility. I mean, how many sources does he have? If it's one source, that's not credible. You need more than one source for a story to be credible.
Yeah.
And I honestly think I wouldn't. I know that the armed services and especially special forces are engaged in all sorts of extraordinary exercises all the time, including things like testing defences, etc. But somebody up the chain would have known. Even if it wasn't the base commander, then the base commander's boss would know that there was because at some point somebody within the organisation has to go, yeah, that's an exercise.
Yeah.
But otherwise something terrible could go wrong and continue to go wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas at some point somebody's got to go, yeah, I know all about this.
Yeah. So that is interesting. Yeah.
I mean, the SAS do like crazy things, like they'll contact, like, for argument's sake, and this is the thing, is they do conduct exercises against and with other allies, and so they'll say to the Americans, right, can our special forces do a wee exercise? Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. Say, right, can we see if we can kidnap your general from inside one of your embassies? And they'll go, yeah, sure. So the general knows.
Yeah.
But none of the security.
Yeah.
And none of the security, including armed guards, etc., will know that this is an exercise.
Yeah. So they don't shoot them.
No, but that's the point, though. It's just like the special forces will know that this is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. But so the one person being kidnapped in this exercise will know that it's an exercise, but everyone else doesn't, apart from the special forces and then the kidnap victim, because it's about them being real jeopardy involved in them getting it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I.e., they have to try that. So, and they have to do all sorts of crazy things like, escape with this person, when they're being chased by the police and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To see if it can be done. So yeah, there's real jeopardy, etc. But somebody within the organisation, which would mean that somebody within the American side would know that this was an exercise.
If this is a prank.
But this is the thing, I do not think.
No,
I just a prank.
A revenge prank.
Yeah, but when you think about what it is and what and where they are and what could go wrong, I think a prank is. A prank is the kind of thing that if it was a prank, they would have gone at the exact same time. Yeah, in your face. But a prank with live rounds involved, nah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because it's actual armed guards with loaded rifles.
Like you could have just went mental and started firing them. So,
it's just ridiculous, just madness. No, I don't think. I think it doesn't. To use an apt metaphor, it doesn't fly. I don't think this story. For me, I just think that and then the fact that everybody within the government, would go, oh, we all knew that, a joke against the Americans. You're like, what? Somebody would be sacked over that. You did it, what? You broke into what and did a prank?
Yeah.
And what?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, so you're not buying that it was the SAS pranking them. Okay, fair enough.
I'm not saying it's not out with the possibility that they could do something like this. I just think they never would because of the risks involved. That's all.
Right, okay. So that was really the most major talking point this week when it came to paranormal stuff. So that was and we've spoke about this, or I don't know if we have, but I know I have discussed this particular event on the old podcast. So I thought it'd be interesting just to go back and go, oh, re-update.
Yeah,
could be this.
Because one of the interesting things about Rendlesham Forest was the amount of witnesses, and also their witness statements and what they said. They described they actually saw some sort of triangular craft, basically on the ground or very close to the ground, and some of them could go up and were quite close to it.
Yeah.
So when you're saying, oh, this was a fake, this was a prank by the SAS, what did the SAS do? Is just smuggle some enormous fiberglass model.
Oh, here's something
you know what I mean?
See the article
over a barbed wire fence and light it up. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? All this. What they did? What?
It was a BBC. No, it wasn't. It was Daily Mail. Daily Mail that I read that wee segment of there. But what I noticed in the article is at Rendlesham they have on the spot where it happened, they have like that a UFO model on the spot. What's happening? And what I noticed is the model statue of the UFO that they have looks absolutely nothing like the drawing that one of the people who saw this drew. So I'm like, why didn't they not make it look like what it's weird. There's a weird disconnect between the two things.
Yeah. Why did
which I think is great.
Somebody commissioned that, therefore they had a budget, they spent time and money on it. Why was there no research?
Yeah.
Because the first thing the sculptor would ask, an artist would ask, is, well, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And the person would go, nobody knows, just do it. And
yeah, but there seems to be a specific design to it, to the statue. Some detail on there.
It's just paranormal, that's what it is.
But when you look at Staff Sergeant Jim Pennison, he's sketched the craft at sort of time. Look completely different.
Yeah, it's bizarre that, isn't it?
Yeah, so that throws up some questions for me. Anyway, that was this week's Weirder Hings news.
Anyway, so is Scotland paranormal? Is there anything particularly paranormal about Scotland? Have you given this matter any thought at all, Michael?
Yes.
Good.
All the time.
Share.
Well, as a resident in Scotland, it sometimes comes to my attention that there is paranormal things happening here. Occasionally. So I like to look into such things from time to time.
Are you an investigator? Is that what you're saying? Or are you just nosy?
I'm just nosy. Well, for anybody who hasn't listened to us before, I'm a photographer stroke filmmaker, so I occasionally make the odds. I have been known to dabble in this subject when coming to things like making documentaries and speaking to people, things like that. So I have an interest, a vested interest, as do you in this.
That's correct. I'm an investigator with the Scottish Society of Psychical Research, and
the heavy hitters.
Oh, hitters! How about that?
They sound like heavy hitters.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yes, it registers charity. It's and so that's my interest. I've been doing that for a few years now, and I've had a long-standing interest in that. But anyway, is Scotland paranormal?
Yes, I would definitely 100% say so.
Well, do you know what I've done? Is I've had a wee think about this, and I've come up with a list, because you know how people love lists.
Especially when it comes to a new year, people make lists.
That's true. January. They do.
People make lists.
Well, I'm just thinking, is there anything particularly paranormal about Scotland? If you look at all countries in the world, is there something? Is Scotland? We like to think that we punch above our weight, and do we punch above our weight?
That is a very good question.
In paranormal terms, and I would say so. Yes, I would.
Would you?
I would.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm going to start off with cryptozoology.
Oh.
And I think we've probably got...
That's a good place to start.
It is a good place to start.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting you to start there.
Okay. I was going to say, start at the top, or rather, start at the bottom of a very murky, peaty loch. We have basically the world's most famous lake monster, or as we say, a loch monster. What does loch mean, Michael, just to translate? Does that...
It's the Scottish word for lake or body of water.
Thanks. Sorry, just in case we lost any of our listeners there, if they're not familiar.
Because we are now part of an international podcast community.
Right. So we are part of the Paranormal UK radio network, which is the best in paranormal talk radio in the UK, the US, and all around the world.
We're just going to keep plugging that.
Pump it.
Yeah.
We're going to pump it. Which, what does that mean in Scotland, Michael?
Pump?
Yeah. Several things.
Yeah, I mean several things.
Several things.
Pump up a tyre.
Yeah.
You could, pump up a balloon.
Yeah, that's it. Good. Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
We'll just
so there you go.
Moving on.
Yeah. So Nessie. So we have the world's most famous lake monster. Nessie. And sort of in modern era terms, the first report was in the Inverness Courier on the 14th of August 1933, and it was actually a non-native gentleman from London, I think, George Spicer, an Englishman, who was there was a new road that was built next to the loch, and that started to bring tourists and their automobiles. And but what's really quite interesting, I think, is about the lake monster is the first popular, covered in the media sort of story was actually of a creature spotted not in the loch, but on the land next to the loch. So George Spicer described what he saw as being something much like a sort of a dragon that actually had another animal in its mouth, of all unbelievable things. And
what was the animal it had in its mouth?
Probably a sheep or some wee.
All right, some wee like some a sheep.
Wee. Yeah, so some wee had a Sasquatch in its mouth. just to go for it. Yeah, that's why there's so few Bigfoot sightings.
Nessie
eats all the Sasquatch. Sasquatch eye.
Yeah,
Sasquatches.
Yeah, let's go with Sasquatch eye.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so that's Nessie. So and yeah, sightings every year. So we could probably do a whole episode about that, or maybe several.
There's the gentleman who stays to this day on the banks of the loch. He lives in a wee caravan on the banks of Loch Ness. And he's a full-time Nessie hunter, watcher person.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him 2-3 years ago. I met him. He's an English gentleman as well. For some reason, a lot of people seem more interested in it than people in Scotland.
That's because we're used to strange wet monsters in our lives.
Yeah, it's like it's just the lake monster.
But just a wee aside as well is we have several. Because you actually brain slip there, Loch Lomond, but Loch Lomond apparently does have a monster as well.
Does it?
It does. There's stories of Loch Lomond having a beastie within its murky depths. But the other famous one is obviously
Morag.
Morag and Sheila. So there's Loch Shiel actually has Sheila, and Loch Morar has Morag.
Yeah, a lot of people not Scottish who are into Scottish things are going to love this podcast because we're saying things like Loch Mara.
They like a good do they?
We're good at rolling our R's.
Yeah, that's it. Just if you can always pop into a coffee shop and listen to coffee being ground. It's quite a similar sound.
Quite similar.
Anyway, so Loch Monsters. Shall I continue with my wee list here?
Oh, go for it.
Okay, so the next one was thinking about UFOs. Everyone loves a good UFO story, and Scotland has its fair share. It actually has one of the most famous UFO abduction cases because it wasn't really a UFO abduction. It was a attempted abduction, and this goes back to the winter of 1979, the 9th of November, and a forestry worker called Robert Taylor, or Bob Taylor, was out for a stroll in a forest detachment law, which is outside Livingston in the central belt of Scotland, and through a break in the trees he saw a most peculiar UFO floating about, and then little robot alien type things with looked like World War II sea mines, little balls with suckery sort of spines, rolled down the hill. He lost consciousness, and he woke up later with a terrible headache and ripped trousers, as if he'd been dragged up the hill towards this craft. And anyway, he staggered home, and the story got out. It was investigated by the police and several individuals, and it remains a fascinating and bizarre case to this day. Any comment on the Livingston Ufo incident? Or
I believe, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I believe it was, I don't know if it still is, but it was at some point the only official UFO abduction case investigated by the police as a real criminal investigation.
It was, yeah.
And I don't know if that's still the case.
Who knows?
But there's a plaque on the spot where it happened, saying this is the first ever officially recognised and investigated by an authority alien contact site, essentially.
Yep.
So that's why that one's quite well known and quite famous.
Yeah,
for that reason.
I'm also fascinated in the fact that a friend of ours, the esteemed Malcolm Robinson,
Yes.
An investigator of all things weird in Scotland, he was all over this case, investigated this case, and he managed to actually get hold of Exhibit A, the ripped trousers.
Did he?
Yeah. He said
He's seen the ripped trousers?
no. Apparently, he now owns them.
You're joking.
And apparently, people, perhaps Malcolm could be our guest, and we could have a fashion show down the catwalk.
Yes. I would love to see those.
Well, the thing is apparently other investigators and private individuals have offered him great sums of money.
I bet they have.
And he says no.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Just need to bring the trousers, Malcolm. We need to see your breeks.
Wear them.
Yeah. Don't know about a pair of 1970s ripped done in trousers.
That's it. So there's that, and also we had quite a sort of a famous UFO flap. Every country has its UFO flap. Belgium had its UFO flap in the early 1990s, and so did we. Basically, and from 1992. Yet again in the Central Belt, so not that far from where Bob Taylor was allegedly or possibly dragged a wee bit up a hill by a space robot.
It's not the most glamorous UFO abduction in history.
No,
we'll give you that,
no,
but it's
let's get this one.
Yeah.
It's a bit too heavy.
Yeah.
We weren't really designed to pick up things.
Yeah.
Why were we given this job?
Yeah.
Oh well, never mind.
Like,
Let's
Scottish
go home.
people are so tough that even aliens can't abduct us.
That's it. I maybe had a really, good chin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was face down, so
All right, okay.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
He had a good chin anchor. I have no idea. The other one, so yeah, the Falkirk Triangle, basically, so sort of Bonnybridge, round about there. But basically, since the early 1990s, there've been apparently 3,000 sightings or reports
In that area. So for anybody who doesn't know where that is pretty much the area between Glasgow and Edinburgh, which is the two major cities in Scotland.
Yeah, Edinburgh is where the castle is, and Glasgow is where Billy Connolly comes from, and that's pretty much.
That's a really good way. Yeah,
that's it.
Because everybody knows Billy Connolly, right?
Everyone, yeah, or Connolly Town as it's now known.
Yeah. Town. Yeah.
Big India.
Yeah, Big India. That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
Big India.
Big India.
Yeah. Sorry. What were you saying?
So there's that. The UFOs. We've got plenty of UFOs. The next one.
UFOs. Well, on that subject, probably worth mentioning as well. Because I was on another podcast recently. I know, and I cheated on you.
That's fine.
Another podcast.
That's okay. I don't mind.
And I was asked about this, and I was talking about how in the early 90s in Scotland was essentially the testing area for the B-52. No, B-52, the other one, the stealth fighter.
Right, yeah.
Was that the B-50 something?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, the stealth bomber. And they were tested in Scotland, and because no one in Scotland had ever seen anything like this before, we essentially didn't really know what the hell it was. So anytime they saw one, it freaked them out a wee bit because it was this weird black triangle thing that was top secret, so it wasn't in the public consciousness. I've got a friend who was working for the BBC, and he was at early one morning down at it was kind of like what's that area called, out by Faz Lane, when you go right out by Faz Lane, no, across from Greenock. Dunoon.
Right, I was going to say Dunoon, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good Scottish place, Dunoon. It's actually not, it's honestly so bleak. Anyway, it was in Dunoon.
Apologies to people that live in Dunoon.
Sorry to the people in Dunoon, your town is just so boring. Anyway, he was down at the waterfront in Dunoon with his camera, photographing, and he says that it just suddenly got this it was very early in the morning. They said it was like summertime, so the sun was up really early. So it was like, he said it was like 5 in the morning. And it was quite light, but very quiet.
Yep.
And he said he just got this horrendous sensation where he's like, to the point where he's like, he kind of brought his shoulders up and like tucked his head in, like I'm on a podcast, so it's hard to kind of show it, but he had that kind of cowering sensation, and he said he looked up, and then just really very low was this big black triangle just flew right over him, like silently. And it flew away out into the Irish Sea. And obviously it was years later when they were like, I think it was 92, they're like, by the way,
I'm sure these things do make a sound though.
Well, I think it was the way it was travelling that the sound came later. Like
right,
he got the sensation and then kind of saw it, and then the sound came.
Okay.
You know?
Like 20 minutes later.
I know, like 20 minutes to stand with it, yeah. Like a couple seconds, but and then it was until later when he saw it in the newspaper that, you know, they were testing it here.
Right.
Because there's a wee island out in the west coast of Scotland. It's got the longest runway in Europe.
It does, yeah.
Because it's the emergency landing site for the space shuttle during the 80s. Oh, it was one of the designated. And there's the US military kind of had stuff going on out there as well.
Stuff going on out there.
And that's where they landed it to refueled it or whatever.
There you go.
So it was quite active in Scotland around that time. So that's a lot of people were seeing that in the late 80s, early 90s. That's what they were seeing.
There you go.
And also you had the Gulf War happening around about that time as well, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So they were probably refuelling to go, like, you know, because usually flights from the States will refuel at Prestwick.
Which is an airport in Ayrshire.
Yeah.
Not far from where Rabbie burns.
Yes.
Yes. It was hoofing about. Anyway, right. So that's good though. I like that link because that can link into the next one, which is Scotland is actually probably the seat of modern scepticism, or at least good arguments against weird things happening. And that's because of our sort of Enlightenment philosopher, David Hume. Who was born in 1711, died in 1776. And so, you know, good breeches and wigs, picture the scene. And he wrote an essay or a small book called An Inquiry Understanding. I can't even see it in the shelves over there somewhere. See next to Plato, weak it off. Can you see Plato?
No, where am I?
Move your hand up. Yep, right there. Right there, that's it.
Is that?
You pointed to it.
That one there?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That was weird.
An inquiry concerning human understanding, with a letter from a gentleman to his friend in Edinburgh. There you go. So anyway, yeah. So basically, this is a book which is basically it's a sort of refutations against miracles or miraculous things happening, and he came up with quite a neat little argument, and it's basically about. He might not use the word, but it's basically about probability. He was always talking about experience and observation and experimentation. So I think you would maybe put him in the sort of empirical school of philosophy or a rationalist. But basically he was saying, well, look, if somebody comes up to you and says that they've experienced something weird, then basically you have to balance it against your own experience and your own observations, and basically how often have you seen the weird thing that this person has experienced?
A weird thing.
And you balance that against how many people have lied to you or talked. Can we use the beeper now?
Yeah.
Shite.
I think shite's alright.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, so you're basically, wait a minute.
Because we're saying shite, we're not saying.
Right, okay. Well, I don't know.
Because Scottish, we could say jobby, but it's a bit of shite. I think shite's alright. We're saying it too much now to the point where it might not be alright. So probably, yep.
Maybe what you need to do is bleep everything out, apart from so that people know what we were bleeping out.
Yeah.
And then they can make their own mind up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, because we may be broadcasting to some very puritanical individuals.
Yeah, people who are maybe offended by that language.
And we don't want to be offensive. We don't want to exclude anyone. Okay, they might be right into demonology, but the sound of that word might be too much for them.
could be.
Fires of hell, no problem. Too much.
Fair enough.
So, So basically, David Hume was a philosopher. He came up with this really nice sort of counter argument to miracles, and even the whole. He was not particularly out as an atheist. He never said I am an atheist, but he was very much regarded by his contemporaries as an atheist. And he came up with a really nice, sort of neat argument almost against God and creationism. And he basically said, well, look, the only way you can understand anything is basically your own experience and your own observation. And he said, for you to make the statement, God has created the universe, is one, when have you ever seen God? Never. When have you ever experienced God? That's debatable. But also, what can you compare it with? Do you know of any, have you observed any other universes? No. So you can't actually make any rational judgment on whether or not God has created the universe, because you cannot test that, isn't it? You cannot test that in an experiment. But it was very much about experimentation. So there you go. David Hume, philosopher, perhaps one of the forefathers of modern skepticism.
So basically what you're saying is, not only are we extremely paranormal in Scotland, but when it comes to it, we can be a wee bit sceptical if we need to be.
That's it. That's it. There you go. And talking about weighing up evidence and experimentation, we also have a chair of parapsychology. So as part of the Department of Psychology at the University of Edinburgh, we have the Kessler Parapsychology Unit. The current chair is Professor Caroline Watt. It was founded in 1985, and the first professor was Bob Morris. And it's just the fact that even Edinburgh University has this.
Yeah. Did you ever, at any point in your life, think about going there to study?
Not clever enough.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've always pursued a career in show business. So,
right, okay. So you're definitely not smart enough.
No, that's complete. I'm a dribbling moron. But basically, your roots into parapsychology are through two. Well, I'm saying two, mostly through two academic fields. Although in saying that, one of the readers or fellows of the parapsychology unit is actually a historian, which is a social science. But it's usually through psychology or physics.
Yeah, because when I was 20, I'd left school at 18. I didn't want to go to uni or college or any of that stuff. I wanted to get a head start in the world of working. And then 2 years after, I was like, oh man, I should have went to college or uni. So because I had an interest in the subject, I thought, I could maybe go to Edinburgh Uni and go to the parapsychology department and do stuff there. But then I realised, but you need to do others. You can't just go and turn up at the door at the parapsychology and say, I want to study parapsychology. They'll go, nah, you need to actually study proper psychology and then do this as a side. But
you need to rock up with a degree.
Yeah, you need to be smart.
And then you would probably do either a postgraduate diploma in research or a PhD in parapsychology.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the world's most frequent jobbing skeptics, the professor of the public understanding of psychology, is Richard Wiseman, but he got his doctorate at the Kessler.
Did he?
Yeah, KPU. Yeah.
I've read his book.
But so there you go.
Right, so what's next?
Okay, so we've done the skepticism bit. Let's go back to the fruity stuff. So we've got plenty of ghosts in Scotland.
So many ghosts.
So many ghosts. Lots of good ghost stories as well.
Going back a very long time as well.
That's it. I would think maybe the most famous poltergeist case is the Sochi poltergeist case.
Famous? You use the word famous. I would disagree that it was the most famous.
Alright, in Scotland?
Yeah.
Okay, go fire in one then.
The Mackenzie.
Okay, that's probably more recent times. Yeah, that's it.
But I'd say that was more famous because of recent times. But the Sochi probably is.
Yeah, the Mackenzie poltergeist is basically sort of Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh. and the sort of Covenanters prison, and it has the added bonus of it's publicly accessible, so people will go tours there.
Yes, they do ghost tours at night time.
Ghost tours at night time, so it's obviously
jumper ooters, as they call it here. People will jump out and you go boom.
So you pay money, you go on a tour, but with the added bonus of getting attacked by a poltergeist.
Yes.
Yay! So that's the Mackenzie poltergeist. Sauchie poltergeist was somewhat earlier, the 1960 little village of Sauchie, and it was basically classic standard formation of pubescent girl, Virginia Campbell, 11 years old at the time, but had the benefit of being witnessed and investigated by sort of local minister and GP and things like that. I know witnessed, things like her desk lid would bang up and down in the middle of class, and would be witnessed by all the other classmates, and also the teacher as well at the time. So plenty of witnesses.
Yeah,
that's where we want.
Edinburgh as well as Glasgow. Glasgow's super haunted, if you believe in that kind of thing. But Edinburgh is more well known for being super haunted with places like the Edinburgh Vaults. That was in Mary King's Close, which was a street that was sealed off because people had the plague, so they just sealed them off and they all kind of died basically. Then you've got the Mackenzie poltergeist.
So that's like a very narrow street, if you can imagine. It's a very narrow street with very, very tall tenement buildings.
Yeah, and then they basically built over the top of it, so modern Edinburgh, it's them thingies, what do you call them?
Inverted commas.
Inverted commas. It's really too early in the new year. The modern Edinburgh, inverted commas, is built over the top of it, so you actually need to go down underground and to get this old street that's been sealed off, and it's all the old ancient houses, and I think the first house in Edinburgh have wallpapers down there as well. And it's haunted by the spirit of a wee girl and stuff like that as well. Allegedly, and then you've got people take her gifts and leave her things, and then you've got the Edinburgh Vaults, which are super creepy. Just everywhere you go in it is haunted. Glasgow's less known, but there's like lots of places in Glasgow that are haunted.
Do you know why that is, though?
Why is that, Innes?
Because generally people are more focused on running away from the living in Glasgow.
Yes.
So the ghosts are less of a... They're lower down the pecking order of things to be terrified by in Glasgow. That's one thing. Yeah. So, so we can do lots and lots of podcasts about ghosties, and including, just like you're talking about, the Edinburgh Vaults are fascinating. We should probably do a podcast from there.
That would actually be a really good one. I got some Amazon vouchers for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I can invest in some nice wee lav mics that we can walk about. Like,
yeah, and people still come up with some really interesting recordings and photographs from the vaults to this day.
There's one recently.
And a gentleman from the Edinburgh 14 Society took a selfie.
Yes.
Or did the selfie take him?
Ooh.
And a figure appeared in the back of the photo.
It showed me at that last meeting, and it's quite good. Quite good.
Yeah.
I was impressed by it.
Yep. So shall I move on? That's we've covered 5 there. We've had lake monsters, UFOs, parapsychology, skepticism, and the poltergeists and ghosts. Did you enjoy that?
That was good.
That might have been just the one sentence that Americans understood.
Yeah.
Amongst this entire
noise.
Just like. And now words you understand. Aye. Right. So the next one is magic. Oh,
magic.
Scotland is pure magic. It's magic. So I think people need to be reminded.
I think somebody's had too much coffee.
It's just happening now. People need to be reminded that that one of the world's most famous stroke infamous occultists, mysticists, magicians, Aleister Crowley, was actually Alexander Crowley, but he changed his name to the Scottish version of Alexander, which is Alistair, the golf club's free now. Alistair's got that kind of name, hasn't it? Yeah.
There's plenty of Alistairs in the west of Scotland, and
So and all good people. Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay.
They're all good people, right? So anyway, but the fact is that you had this Englishman, Alexander Crowley, change his name to Alistair, and one of his mentors was a gentleman called Samuel Liddell or Liddell MacGregor Mathers. MacGregor Mathers was not a MacGregor either.
Right,
the thing is, so what they basically did is they Scotified themselves. They invented this Scottish ancestry because in the late Victorian age, if you wanted any kind of psychic or paranormal credibility, then you had to find your Scottish roots. You had to have a link back to Scotland, because nowhere was quite so throbbingly mystic and magical as Scotland. Because definitely back in the day, Scotland had an enormous reputation for still having the magical mystical powers, especially because of, and the next on our list, second sight.
Right.
So you've got the second sight, which is this idea that people in the Highlands and the Islands, basically, the older ways have survived the onslaught of civilization and the distractions and baubles of this wretched modern world. And
I would agree with that. I was up north on, what day is this?
This is Friday.
This is Friday.
No, it's not. It's Thursday after 10 p.m, Michael.
Yep. I was up north on Wednesday. No, Wednesday. I was right the first time.
Okay.
I went climbing up a big
It's
hill.
important you get these things right.
Yeah, for the listeners.
That's
So I decided, as it was New Year, I wanted to go climb up a big hill, as we do in Scotland from time to time. We have a few big hills in Scotland, so I thought I'm going to climb a big hill. And as I was driving through all these wee villages and stuff, it really is just the land at times forgot. Some of these places, just these wee cottages, like in the middle of nowhere, with a big mountain hill, glen behind it. And you're like, geez, this place is just, it's very mystical looking, and it was freezing cold and misty as well, so you're like, oh, this place is spooky.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I just went after
No,
me.
like that. It's important people...
I was painting a picture of what a beautiful landscape. This podcast is not sponsored by Visit Scotland, just for legal reasons. I think it's important to point that.
No, but if they want to give us money...
If you want to come to Scotland,
but yeah, so there was very much this notion, this idea that basically Scotland was the place where there was still an authentic and living tradition of being psychically able and active, and you know, people had the goods, to the extent that the recently founded Society for Psychical Research, based in London, sent this rather eccentric lady called Ada Goodrich Freer in 1892 up to Scotland to basically study the second sight. And basically what she did, she turned in a report which was largely plagiarised from a local researcher, a local priest called Father Alan MacDonald, who basically gathered lots of stories of second sight from the Isle of Eriskay. So,
where is the Isle of Eriskay?
The Isle of Eriskay is one of the Western Isles.
Is it?
Aye. Well, do you know what? It's an easy one for Scotland, isn't it? Because basically you've got the Orkneys and you've got Shetland, which are basically kind of above Aberdeen, right? And then everything else is in the west, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Including Ireland. Why is Ireland not a Scotland? No, that's not.
Do not go down that route.
That's fine. It's fine. Ireland, you can have your own island. It's beautiful. You keep it. It's yours. It's yours.
We've got enough over here. It's fine.
We've got plenty. I know. Second sight. So we can talk about the second sight, and that also very much a crossover with the fairy faith. We have lots of fairy stories, and to this day, it has to be said, People don't talk about them as much.
Someone came up to me the other day and says, "Michael, do you believe in fairies?" Like, just random. So
How tall were they?
No,
Michael, do you believe in fairies?
That was really good. That was spooky. Just randomly, like, what about fairies? Do you believe in fairies? And I was like, I was trying to be like impartial, and I was like, well, they've got their place. They have their place in Scottish.
At the bottom of the garden.
Yeah, they've got their place in Scottish mythology, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Well, there was rather a sort of a famous book which wasn't published in his lifetime, but basically the Reverend Robert Kirk, who was an Episcopalian minister in Aberfoyle, which is sort of at the sort of southern Highlands. He gathered all these stories and about fairy myth, but also kind of wrote an essay about trying to sort of theorising, basically, and it's got a wonderful story. Sorry, not story, but title.
Is that the book? Do you actually own it?
Yeah, it's here. Yeah.
I was going to get that.
Okay, I'll read out the title because it's a good one. The Secret Commonwealth, an essay on the nature and actions of the subterranean and, for the most part, invisible people, heretofore going under the name of elves, fauns, and fairies. That's some title, isn't it?
It's in my... I keep meaning to go and buy that book, and I keep forgetting, but it's amazing that you actually... Can I see it over?
Yeah, it's good.
That's... Yeah, because I used to be a tour guide in Scotland, and I used to take people around Scotland, and one of the stories I used to tell them was of Robert Kirk.
Yeah, the interesting wee story, and maybe we can pass on this in a future podcast, but
definitely.
The rumour was that he was actually didn't die but was abducted.
And his body was replaced by a copy.
So yeah, that's so fairies. We can talk about fairies. So we've just done magic, the second sight, and fairies, which leads us naturally on to very much in the Venn diagram. This obviously there's a wee bit of overlap with all of the above, and that's witchcraft. As Scotland was sadly quite an active prosecutor of witches.
Oh yeah,
with even at one point our own King James VI wrote a book on demonology.
First of England, sixth of Scotland.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. He was so. When you talk about King James Bibles, this is the very same King James. He went on to become king of like Michael said, Scotland, England, Wales, and Ireland at the time, and that was demonology was published in 1597. So that was while he was still just the King of Scotland. And that was very much because he believed that when he went to Denmark to pick up his future queen, on the boat on the way back suffered a terrible storm, and he went, oh, it has to be supernatural. It was awfully horrible, and
it actually sounded just like that.
It did. We had a bit of a lisp, so it's more like this. So oh my goodness, those waves were very choppy. So yeah, that's my King James VI and first impersonation. So yeah, witchcraft. There was lots of witchcraft trials in Scotland. I'm afraid we were quite enthusiastic about that.
Yes, there's some cracking Witchfinder General stories about Glasgow, which I know quite so a future episode on that. I think,
and then the last one, because you seem to be keen in these sorts of things, is just sheer grinding horror.
Yeah, you cannot whack a bit of sheer grinding horror.
Sheer grinding horror. And I thought I would finish my little and basically this is Burgers versus Soup, right? This is Burgers versus Soup, and after I finish this small segment, they're probably both trying to sue me here, but basically the massacre at Glencoe is in 1692. So there was a new king on the throne, King William, or King Billy.
King Billy,
as he's often affectionately referred to by certain parts of the community. Yes. But basically, so there's a new king on the throne, and there was this edict put out that the clans had to pledge allegiance. And the reason why there was, the history of the Highlands in Scotland is long and especially bloody. Lots of constant battling. Lots of horrific massacres all over the shop.
We love a good scrap.
Yeah, but the reason why this one somewhat stuck in the national memory is because the Redcoats, so the British Army or the government troops, billeted in Glencoe, actually stayed with McDonald's of Glencoe and therefore received traditional hospitality. And then when they received their orders, basically turned under their hosts, basically. So it was like a sort of blasphemous rejection of ancient rules of hospitality.
The Game of Thrones did.
The games, they
It's
certainly
a red
did.
wedding.
They certainly did. And 38 McDonald's were massacred, and many escaped into the snows just to freeze to death. And there were two army officers. One was a Duncanson, but the other one was a Campbell. So it's meant that there's this long-standing enmity between these two clans, the McDonalds and the Campbells. Hence, burgers versus soup.
Very good.
There you go.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
One that's you never mentioned that I'm keen to, and there won't be a lot of these episodes, is Killers.
But it's more sort of instead of quality grinding horror.
Yeah. So we've got Bible John.
That's quite weird. That's unusual because it's as of yet unsolved.
Yeah, it's Scotland's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Were they the same person?
This is relatively recently though. This was in the 1960s. Is that right?
1960s.
Yep.
So we'll maybe delve into some Bible John.
Well,
that sounds like, because that's a fascinating one.
Yep.
Unsolved murders of women, never caught. There was a guy caught recently. They thought he might be him, but sketchy at best. We've got some. Peter Manuel.
Right. Yeah.
He's a pretty dark character.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. There's a few. Ian Huntley. No,
yes.
no, Ian Huntley. What's the other one? Ian Brady. He was technically Scottish.
You
say
grew up in the Gorbals in Glasgow.
Yeah, so
and he was the Moors murderer.
The Moors murderer with Myra Hindley. So I say technically Scottish. He was Scottish, but we tend not to. We try not to draw too much attention to the fact. So we've got a few nasty characters that we should probably look at some stage as well.
If they're weird enough, because it is Weirder Hings, so it has to be kind of weird.
If you're going to go out and murder people, then you're going to be a bit weird.
That's true. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. Our first in a long-lasting, extending into infinity series is Weirder Hings. That's it.
Weirder Hings.
Our first episode is Scotland Paranormal. The answer was
yes.
Aye. And tune in next time. We're going to be talking about witches.
We're going to do witches.
We're going to do witches.
That
sounds sinister.
Scottish witches. When we return next week, and hopefully I'll have my teeth in.
That's it. And so we thank you all for listening on the Paranormal UK radio network. And if you can't understand anything we're saying, then let us know.
Yeah,
and we'll
be
be back next week talking like this.
Goodbye.